Hello. Were you looking for information about Weatherman Draw, the rock art site in south central Montana? It's a fascinating story, but I think we should probably start at the beginning.
Weatherman Draw, also known as Valley of the Shields and Valley of the Chiefs, was an area where many Native American tribes congregated seasonally, and it was utilized by the Comanche, Northern Arapaho, Northern Cheyenne, Eastern Shoshone, Crow, and Blackfeet, among others. The valley was used as a place for vision quests, prayers, burials, and the gathering of medicinal plants. The site area itself consists of 4,268 surface acres in Carbon County in south central Montana, and includes over 40 individual rock art sites within Cottonwood Canyon, Weatherman Draw, and the surrounding areas. Much of the art in the area dates to over 1,000 years ago and consists of multi-hued depictions of shields, humans, animals, and abstract shapes of various kinds in both pictograph and petroglyph form. The cultural heritage battle over Weatherman Draw began in 1987 when an exploratory well was drilled, plugged, and abandoned on public lands at the mouth of Weatherman Draw. In 1993, 4 applications for permit to drill on land leases within the Weatherman Draw area were submitted to the BLM. In 1994, Blackford Energy purchased oil well drilling leases, only to scrap their proposal shortly thereafter. In 1996, Blackford transferred their land leases to the Anschutz Exploration Corporation, a subsidiary of the Anschutz Company, an entertainment and oil corporation out of Denver, Colorado, owned by billionaire Philip Anschutz. In 1997, Anschutz submitted an application for an exploratory permit for the area to the Bureau of Land Management. Initial estimates suggested that up to 10 million barrels of oil may be lurking beneath the valley. Also at this time, there is documentation that consultation occurred between interested parties in the Crow, Northern Arapaho, Eastern Shoshone, and Northern Cheyenne. The Bureau of Land Management and the Montana SHPO began consultation over the Section 106 process in the area. In 1998, the BLM invited the public to comment on their first draft environmental assessment of the area, and they determined through this that Weatherman Draw was eligible under NHPA criterion C, D, and, at the SHPO's request, A. The Anschutz Company had previously announced that they would begin drilling in spring of 1998, but in a later statement conceded that they would wait pending reclassification of the site by the BLM. In 1999, Weatherman Draw was designated an area of critical environmental concern by the Bureau of Land Management. In their report, they cited that the area has potential to provide information on the ethno-history of Native Americans, and they proposed that conservation management be instigated for the majority of sites in the area, and that sites be set aside for scientific research. At this time, The Advisory Council on Historic Preservation was invited to participate with the BLM and the SHPO in the Section 106 process. An inventory was taken of the sites and surrounding areas, resulting in the recording of 14 prehistoric and historic sites and 52 locations with a minimal association of artifacts and features. Features ranged in age from as old as 10,500 years before present to as recent as the 1950s. 3 sites were found eligible for the National Register under Criteria D. Despite all of this, and the 137 written comments received by the BLM, and the designation of the area as an ACEC, a grandfather clause in some of the original documentation allowed that leases granted prior to the ACEC designation were to be honored regardless of the designation. Because of this clause, the Anschutz Company's leases on the area would still be held valid. In 2000, a consensus of adverse effect was formalized with the ACHP in a Memorandum of Agreement signed by the BLM, the SHPO, and the Anschutz Exploration Corporation. From here, things get a bit complicated. In 2001, something magical happened, and the Anschutz Company nearly got its wish. Just 12 days after George W. Bush was elected to presidential office, the BLM approved Anschutz's original application, including permits for an exploratory well and the creation of an access road in Weatherman Draw. The decision was based on an earlier, less restrictive environmental assessment, with the stipulation that if resources were discovered at the well, further evaluation would be required before continuing. The response by Native American groups was one of concern and outrage. Representatives from the Crow, Northern Arapaho, Eastern Shoshone, Northern Cheyenne, and other tribes made their voices heard. The National Trust for Historic Preservation and the Sierra Club stepped into the argument, citing a number of violations involved in the requisition of the original permits. Representatives from Native American tribes, the Bureau of Land Management, and the Sierra Club, in association with West Virginia Democratic Representative Nick Rahal, proposed the Valley of the Chiefs Native American Sacred Site Preservation Act in 2001. Somehow, sadly, this act never made it beyond the House Resources Committee. Still in 2001, the NTHP filed a request for intervention on the application for permits to drill to the U.S. Department of the Interior. In response to this, Anschutz filed their own request for intervention with the U.S. Department of Interior and voluntarily agreed to halt further activity until January 2002, while negotiations with the BLM and other parties were conducted. Eventually, the Department of the Interior granted the request for intervention. In 2003, in an unprecedented move, Anschutz donated their leases in the Weatherman Draw area to the NTHP to be held in trust until they expire, one in 2003 and the other in 2005. As the story continues in 2004, the Resource Advisory Committee was invited to comment about the proposed oil and gas withdrawal for the area, and the RAC and the BLM Montana State Office accepted a final disposition proposal calling for a complete Class 3 inventory of the Weatherman Draw ACEC and its proposed expansions. Weatherman Draw and the surrounding areas were nominated to the National Register of Historic Places as a National Register District. At present, there are over 700 rock art sites in the state of Montana, and preserving them for future generations is paramount to the conservation of our cultural heritage.